Hi, it's Nathaniel Whiston here, and welcome to the start of a brand new series called Hollywood Stars of West Anglia. And we're kicking off with a trip to Polebrook, which is to the east of Oundle, to the north of Armston, and to the west of Lutton. It's in East Northamptonshire, and it's in West Anglia. We're kicking off this series of Hollywood Stars of West Anglia with one of the biggest names in cinema history. In the 1930s, he was dubbed the King of Hollywood. He was a massive star, and he appeared in the biggest film of all time. I've grown a mustache in tribute to this man. That should give you a clue as to who we're talking about. There's a bigger clue in the title of the video below. So there will be no mutiny on the Bounty as we run silent, run deep, and get gone with the wind up to Polebrook as I take a look at Clark Gable. To give you some background about this series, so before I did Legends of West Anglia and I did Writers of West Anglia, which you can watch. I don't know if you've already seen them, but if you haven't, go and have a look. This one is about Hollywood Stars of West Anglia. So when I say Hollywood, I'm talking classic Hollywood, the golden age of Hollywood. So I'm not talking Emma Stone and Emma Roberts or Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds. I'm talking Humphrey Bogart, Rita Hayworth, Greta Garbo, James Stewart, Marlene Dietrich, all those people. Actually, none of those people are going to be in this series, but people like them will be in this series from that era. And I'm looking forward to getting out into West Anglia and showing you the West Anglian connection that each of the Hollywood stars who I focus on have. So yeah, believe it or not, 6 Hollywood stars do have a connection to West Anglia, and we're going to find out about them over the course of this series. If you've watched Legends of West Anglia or Writers of West Anglia, you'll know that I go out and make the videos, I direct, I present, I do everything. But my friend Jeremy does the editing. And if you've seen those videos, you'll also know that he does an absolutely terrible job of it. However, due to various constraints, I've had to ask him to do the editing for this series as well. But the way I look at it is like this. Fool me once, shame on you, Jeremy. Fool me twice, shame on me. I should have known better. Fool me 3 times, Jeremy. Shame on you again, because you should know better because you've already done it once before. 3 strikes and you're out. That's the way I'm playing it. We've done 2, they went badly, so this third one, it's down to Jeremy to prove himself that he's a good editor, and he's not going to leave in all the personal stuff. He's going to focus on Clark Gable, the subject in hand, and we're not going to talk about any other silly things that are just going to disrupt the video and detract from what I'm trying to talk about. We haven't had a face-to-face for a while, Jeremy. I know you've been busy planning your wedding, and I've been busy too. I've been getting settled in my job and moved out of that house and moved in with Alison. I don't think I told you that. I know we haven't been going out that long, but she had a spare room going, and we just thought, you know what, let's do it. Let's move in together, and we did. And so far it's going well. It's going well. Of course, we've both got quirks and foibles that we have to get used to. Slow moving traffic around the Black Cat roundabout. It's always slow moving traffic at the Black Cat roundabout. It puts a lot of people off going to St Neots. What is Clark Gable's connection to West Anglia? In 1942, Gable's wife, the actress Carol Lombard, sadly died in a plane crash. Clark Gable hit the drink very heavily after that. This was in the midst of World War II, and being a staunch patriot, Gable decided that one way to get his life back on track would be to sign up for the US Air Force. Now, during World War II, there was an RAF airfield in Polebrook, RAF Polebrook, and it was there where Gable was stationed. And he flew a number of missions from there, and he lived in that area. And today, that's where we're going to go to and see where he lived, talk about what he used to get up to, and find out more about this fascinating West Anglian connection to Clark Gable. There are going to be naysayers, perhaps you're one of them, who's going to be watching this saying, how can you possibly make a video or 6 videos about Hollywood stars in West Anglia? No Hollywood star has a connection to West Anglia. But I will prove you wrong, and if you stick with me for these videos, you'll see that I'm right, and you know what, maybe you'll learn something and maybe you'll enjoy them. How about that? I know I've got a moustache now, but it doesn't compare to Gable's. There were other film stars of that era. Laurence Olivier had a hairy top lip for some time. Groucho Marx, he had the grease paint, and that eventually evolved into a fully fledged tash. Charlie Chaplin had the toothbrush design. But for me, none of them matched the style and finesse of Gable's furry philtrum. Obviously, it's great you're getting married, Jeremy, and you and Liz are going to be great and everything's going to be brilliant. But I don't want all that wedding planning to distract you too much from editing these videos, because I put a lot of work and effort into these. And if there's going to be a delay, or if your mind's going to be elsewhere and you're going to do a poor job of it again, then I want you to let me know. Look at this, stuck on a country road behind a lorry full of hay. This is what it's like out here. This is what I have to put up with. Park in here. And we're here. We're in Polebrook. This is downtown Polebrook, and I'm surprised at how quiet it is. It really is one of the quietest villages I've ever been to. I don't actually know if Gable ever came here. I'm assuming he did. He lived over at the RAF base, but they must have come in for supplies, maybe a pint of beer at the pub over there. There's probably a post office around here somewhere. I haven't seen one yet. So yeah, he may not have lived right here, but literally quarter of a mile away, something like that. It caused a huge stir when Gable came to the village in 1943. By this point he was a huge star. Gone with the Wind came out in 1939 and was the biggest film ever. It still is the biggest film ever. In 1934 he won the Academy Award for Best Actor in It Happened One Night. He was an established Hollywood icon, and he came here to this very quiet, picturesque village in East Northamptonshire, and I'm sure it would have been a small light in their lives, considering that they were also very worried about the Nazis dropping bombs on them. This is a very expensive village, Jeremy. Way outside my price bracket, but since you're marrying Liz, it might be within yours. Such is Gable's stand-ins in the echelons of famous Hollywood film stars, that you'll often hear of people being compared to him, being dubbed the new Clark Gable. One of these is George Clooney, but give me Clark Gable over George Clooney any day of the week, and I'll tell you why. Because Clark Gable came here to Polebrook, to West Anglia, whereas George Clooney probably on the banks of Lake Como sipping a coffee. There's a lot of pretty, very typical English looking cottages around here. I'm not sure if that would have suited Gable, the all-American. You can't really park an SUV on any of these driveways. There's a sign for the airfield, nature reserve, just here as well. Won't pick any plants or flowers while I'm here. Admittance by appointment only. Gable was a combat cameraman, and while here he made a promotional film called Combat America. He took part in 5 combat missions, and they actually got a professional cameraman to enlist alongside him, so that when Gable was up in the plane, they would have somebody in another plane who'd be able to take good pictures of him. I always thought that guy had a pretty rough deal having to sign up to do that. The missions that Gable flew on were risky. They weren't just going up for a laugh, they were actually in battle against Nazi Germany. On one of the missions, a bullet came up from the bottom of the plane and flew right past Gable's head. He only noticed it once he got back down to land. It's been said that Gable had a fear of flying, and I've been thinking, well, how is that possible? He joined the Air Force, he flew about at other times in his life, but then when I heard about that, I think the fear came after he nearly got shot in a plane. That would make a lot of sense. This is our first glimpse of what was RAF Polebrook. This is RAF Polebrook today. There's an old plane flying overhead, and it's like we're back in 1943. I may be walking in Gable's footsteps today, but that plane is flying in his flying steps. Moving with Alison's going really well, Jeremy, really well. I know we jumped into it quite quickly, but it's turning out okay. I'm glad to be off that dating app as well. There's only so many pictures of girls stroking large animals and skiing that you can take a look at. So living together, it's got its challenges, yeah, sure. I'm sure I annoy her in some ways and she annoys me. But that's all part of the fun. It's going well. I'm not talking about this anyway. Clark Gable's home while he was here, through there somewhere, his barracks, and to the left, a West Anglian view. Inside the old RAF base, you can see here this patch of land was used for something. It's overgrown with moss, but underneath we can see that there was concrete. There's a few old artifacts around here, and maybe if I stayed long enough I could root around and find some old personal belongings of Gable's. Maybe a letter from Lana Turner, Ava Gardner or Jean Harlow, which I could sell at auction for a pretty penny. I'm sure Clark Gable loved West Anglia. After all those aerial skirmishes with the Nazis, risking his life, he would have been flying back over here, looked down on West Anglian fields and thought, I'm safe, I feel good here. The sense of wonder that he picked up from this region later came through in his screen roles, such as Magumbo with Grace Kelly and The Misfits with Marilyn Monroe. I'm sure he would have stayed here longer if only Peterborough had a film industry as successful as Hollywood's. Jeremy, you've got to focus on this, you've got to work hard on this one. I mean, I've grown a moustache for it. You can see I've put the effort in and now I need you to. It's a complicated one to sort out. You've got to get the timings right, but look at all the footage I've done and get it right, in the right order. And don't put any of this personal stuff in, don't put this in. That was Polebrook, and that was the story of Clark Gable's time here in West Anglia during World War II. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and if you haven't, well, to paraphrase today's star, to be honest darling, I couldn't care less. I've been Nathaniel Whiston, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Hollywood stars of West Anglia. Goodbye.